All right, hi, this is the Deck Network. I'm your host, Mike Danzilio, and today we have Brett Belair from the Simpson Company. Brett, how are you doing today?
Very good, Mike.
Great,
Thanks.
and Brett's going to talk to us about hardware. I always talk about hardware, that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and this is what we're going to do to try to take care of that weak link. So, where do you want to start today? Okay, usually, when I see a deck collapse or photos from a deck collapse, it's usually the ledger board to the house attachment. So what do you have for that?
It's very typical, Mike. We have a screw, a nice screw for ledger attachments. This is our SDWS screw. Self-drilling, you don't need to pre-drill a hole like a lag screw. You'd have to drill 2 holes. This, you just drive in with a little impact driver, T40 drive. They go right in. We have a chart in our piece of literature here for the SDWS screw on spacing these. So it could be anywhere from 3 to 22 inches depending on the size of your deck and the load capacity of the deck. But we have that information here for you to help decide what you would need.
So we would put 2 of these in a bay, or sometimes even 3.
Yeah, that would probably be about a standard, because in a bay you have 16 inches.
Okay.
So that's about probably average 2 or 3 screws for your average deck. You also want to make sure that you install them in a staggered pattern, up and down. Because if you put them all in one line across the ledger board, you're going to stress that one grain of wood. And that's what happens. The first day you build it, it might be okay, but after a period of few years, the stress on that grain of wood, that ledger might want to snap.
All right, so contrary to popular belief, these are not as strong as a 1/2-inch lag bolt. They're a lot easier to put in, and you can put more of them in for the same amount of money. So therefore, they are easier and less expensive.
Definitely.
Okay, let's get to the tension tie device.
Yep. Tension tie device, this is our DTT2. They come in Z-Max and stainless steel here. They come with the appropriate fastener, because the fastener for the Z-Max is it's a coated screw that would be used here. With the stainless, you're going to use a stainless screw.
Yes,
So you always want to make sure that you're using the same type of metal.
The like metals, because they can react, and
you don't want them reacting. So what you would do with this part for a ledger attachment is you would install them horizontally, as you see, one on the joist of the deck, one on a joist inside the house, the opposite way, like this. Then you would run a threaded rod between the 2 of them with nut and washer on the end. So that way, this part would act as a backup, because if that ledger ever wanted to fail for any reason, it's maybe not the screw that's failing, but maybe the wood fails. The wood can rot. This will prevent that deck from wanting to pull away and fall off the house.
So typically, when I've read about these, you would only need 2 sets of these per deck.
That's what the code is requiring. New York State, not yet, but as they adopt newer versions of the code, and that could be within the next year, this will be a requirement in New York State for your ledger attachment.
All right, let's talk about stainless steel for a second. First we started with iron, but we found that was brittle. Then they put carbon in it and a few other additives, and they got steel, much stronger, helped build the railroads across the country. But then it was corroding. So then they would put chromium and what else did they put in? And nickel into the steel, and made it stainless steel. Now, stainless steel isn't corrosion proof, it's just more corrosion resistance. And and you have a certain grade that you use on this?
Yep, there are different grades of stainless. We use a very high grade, it's called 316 stainless steel. 316, they add another element into the steel called molybdenum, which is an extra corrosive inhibitor. So hopefully 316 steel, where even though we may say it can still rust, hopefully it's giving you your best corrosion resistance in any hostile environment.
Okay, corrosion. Let's quickly talk about corrosion while we just brought it up. Corrosion happens from if you're close to the ocean, if you're near a highway, if you're eastward of a industrial area, or just from being outside. Corrosion can happen. It can be accelerated by some of those reasons that I just talked about.
Yeah.
Can you add anything with that?
If you have a deck or a porch that's going to get salted in the winter, the salt can cause corrosion that you put on it. A pool, a hot tub where you've got chemicals in the water, the chlorine can cause screws, nails, and hardware like this to rust. So if you have anything like that in that type of environment, I'd always recommend to go to stainless steel. Even the wood, there's chemicals in the wood that can be corrosive, so you have to be careful about what type of pressure treated wood you're using, and make sure you know what it contains, so that if it's compatible with the hardware you're using.
Okay, let's talk about our connection from the ground to the deck itself. So we have our sonotube. Brett, tell us how we should put together our connection from the ground to the deck itself.
Yep, there's a few ways to do that, Mike. The most common, you'll probably see guys installing the sonotube, pour the concrete, and then they're going to put an anchor bolt in like this. Then after that, they take this nut and washer off, they're going to drop the post base on it. This is for a 4x4. Nice thing about this is it has a 1-inch slot in the bottom, so you're able to adjust it. If all your bolts aren't lined up perfectly, you have a little room to play. So this is probably the most common installation. So you'd have that on top of your concrete, then your post goes in like that. Again, another feature of this part is that it has a 1-inch standoff. You don't want your wood sitting right on the concrete. When your wood sits on the concrete, the water's going to wick up into that. Every time it rains and puddles on that concrete, water comes up in here, and what water does to wood is want it to rot. Even pressure treated wood.
Sure. And there is wood that is for ground contact, in the ground contact. You may want to take a look at that. Some places, some of the big box stores, they don't. Some of these woods that they sell aren't even for ground contact. But so it's going to last longer if it's a better product.
Yeah, one thing to note, because even if you take a 4x4 and when you cut it, usually the pressure treatment, the chemicals don't absorb all the way to the center of that 4x4 post. So when you cut it, that little part in the middle isn't protected. It doesn't have that chemical in it. So that's one thing you got to be concerned about as well.
So why do we see so many different types of post supports?
There are different types. This one again is the most common, but this one, if you have a deck builder who's experienced, this would be a great part. It gets installed without an anchor bolt, so he saves a step. He saves the cost of buying an extra anchor bolt. This gets embedded into the concrete from here down. Again, your post would go in. You have that 1-inch standoff again built into it. So nice part. The only issue with this, again, I said an experienced deck builder, because you put this in, you want to make sure if you're installing 2, 3, 4 of them that they're all lined up. If you're off an inch or two this way or that way, there's no moving this after it's already embedded and dried in the concrete.
Now, if you've been watching the videos of Matt from WBAB, he is the inexperienced or a carpenter with no experience of building his deck, and he's having a very difficult time with the footings. So keep an eye on that. Now, the next one is that we want to have our connection from our, okay, then we're going right from the cement to the 4x4, and then we have this next new nice part, the BCS /4.
Yeah, there's different sizes. The BCS is the post cap.
Okay, I'm sure there's some for a 6-inch. But what is so nice about this is it's 3.5 inches this way, but it's only 3 inches that way. The reason for that is when you can put this, you get your 3.5 inches this way, and you have 3 inches that way. You can have your double 2x10 or 2x12 beam or girder. Fits in there perfect. All the real good deck builders always use this part. Makes their life so much easier. Anything to add about that part?
Yeah, there's different options for post caps. This one's the most common, probably the best option for a 4x4 to a double 2x, or the 6x carries a triple on top, a triple 2x.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, okay, that's great. Now, the next one, now we have our double 2x10 or 2x12 on top of here. Then we want to attach the joist to the beam. And what do we have for that?
Yep, you have your beam, and then you're dropping your joist on top. So you have this little, what some guys would call a little twist tie or hurricane tie, would just get installed to the beam, and then your joist. Very, very simple part, 10 nails.
Yeah, and then, again, inexpensive. I sell them for 49 cents, sell lots of them.
Comes in Z-Max, as all these parts we're showing do.
Now we're going to look at the most common piece of hardware that you'll see on a deck. Let's take a look at that.
So this is your typical joist hanger that you're going to use for 2x10, 2x8, 2x12, whatever you're using for your joist material. You're going to nail this up to your ledger board. Whatever carry member you have out here, you may need to nail it up as well. You're going to use, typically you want to go to a full length 3-inch 10 penny common galvanized. You want to make sure it's not just a common shiny nail. You want a galvanized nail to nail this up. In the case that you only have a single ledger here, you only have an 1.5 inch board to nail this up to, you can use the 1.5 inch nail in the face nails. When you get into the shear nails, the nails on the side, they go in on an angle. They don't go in like this, like the old hangers probably 10, 15 years used to. You can see here, the nails go in on an angle, just holding it this way. So that not only do they go through the joist, they're going through the header material, which increases the strength of what this hanger can do over the standard part that we had.
Now you're telling us to use a joist hanger nail. This is one of my pet peeves. I see this all the time, drives me crazy. People will come in, I'll figure out a deck for them, I'll give them 3 boxes of joist hanger nails. They'll bring the joist hanger nails back and I'll say, well, how did you attach this to all the hardware? And they'll say, oh, he used screws. All right, well, he didn't use these screws. He used a sheetrock screw. And what would a sheetrock screw do?
The problem with using pretty much any screw in a metal part like this is you're going to create a shear point at every nail hole. So if you use a screw in that, you use like a drywall screw. Drywall screws are very hardened and very brittle. So they're going to want to shear off. The heads are going to basically just pop off. They might not pop off all of them, but they'll pop off enough of them to create an issue, and they just don't have that shear capacity. The screw that we make, it drives them with a little 1/4 inch nut driver, a little hex head. It is not heat treated all the way through. It's heat treated enough so you can drive it like a screw, but this will act more like a nail. It will not snap, it will bend before it snaps. So
Very important.
Better part, this is the only approved screw that we will recommend with a joist hanger.
I've had contractors come in and they say, well, they failed my deck because I didn't use the proper nailing or on the well, of course, you got it. These are very important. Now, if you have any questions or you're not really sure, you can always go to strongtie.com, which is the website for the Simpson company, and I've looked at it plenty of times, and you go under, you look for decks, and it'll have this brochure right here with, and I have them here in my showroom, and it's all about the different products that you use for decks. Very useful, great product. Okay, we're just about done. We have one other product here, and this is one of my favorites, and this product here is we use it for stairs. It costs $1.49. It just makes your life so much easier. The real deck builders buy these by the box. They don't even think about not using these. If you've watched some of our videos with Steve from Easy Decks, we talk about how there are concentrated loads on stairs. On a stair, you need to frame it 12 on center, and you have to use these parts. I can't come up with any other way that it was really going to hold this on. And do you have anything to add about this part?
Yeah, this has only been out for a couple years. We noticed this as a problem as we see more and more decks built that we needed a part to attach a stair stringer. So we designed this part. This is specifically just to do a stair stringer. I would recommend our new screws to install this part. Because of the threads, it's going to give it better performance from ever wanting to pull out. So nice little part. You would install it up on your header or your ledger wherever your stairs are coming off, and this part here you can bend, and you can bend it to the angle of your stringer. You put the appropriate amount of nails or screws in here as well. Excellent little part. Again, you want to make sure you don't bend our parts in general. This one you are allowed to bend.
Okay, it's made to, it has a little notch here, and that's going to work well on that. All right, Brett, I think we covered all the bases, and again, if you have any questions, you can write me at mike@thedecknetwork.com, or you can look at the Strong Tie website, which has all of these parts on there. And anything to add? Have we?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, there always are maybe a little more intricate details, but this covers the basics that you would need for building an average deck.
Again, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So strengthen up that weakest link, and you're not going to have any problems. That's it for today. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye now.